Okay. Where are you?
He's at the house.
Where I am?
Yeah.
I'm downstairs in Magduraza's house, in the room where you used to stay. I remember.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I can. Yeah.
And we are trying here if there's better streaming. Bye, Prabhu. How are you? Krishna.
Hi, Bo Maharaj. Very good. Excited for class.
Nice to see you. Okay, so we are about to start. What do you think, Archan Siddhi?
Yeah, go ahead and get started. I'm going to mute and take cameras off for everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm. Ajnanantimirandasya Jananjana-shalakya Chakyurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shesham Manumapi Satchibhutam Matrasvarupam Rupam Tasya Grajamurupurim Maturim Dashtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhikamadhavasam Tapto Yasha Pradita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tamnatashmi Vancha Kalpataru Yasha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunayavatirna Kalam Shamarpaitum Unnatas Balarasam Sabhakti Shyam Hari Purata Sundara Dhyuti Kadamba Sandipitaha Shada Hridaye Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandana Janulambita Bhujo Kanakavadatu Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Takshu Vishwambaro Dhyabaro Jugadharma Palu Mande Jagapriyakaro Karunavataru Nadini Shakti Swarupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namaskute He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaskute Radhe Vrindavanadise Karunamrita Vahini Kripaya Nijapadabja Dasham Mahyam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Aparadha Lakshay Chiptascha Gamadhikaram Gamadhi Kripamaitam Sharanam Tapanam Bindemaste Charanarabindam Bindemaste Charanarabindam Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Sri Sri Gaur Radha Madhav ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri GOPI-GITA ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Bol. So good evening to all of you. Good afternoon. Welcome to our next session of the GOPI-GITA. Today we are in our 5th meeting and we'll be studying the 3rd verse of GOPI-GITA today. We have 2 introductory sessions, and after that we already discussed Mangal-charan, verse number 1, and verse number 2 yesterday. So let's make a summary of yesterday's lecture, and we'll continue today with the 3rd verse of the GOPI-GITA. So verse number 2, gopis were singing, crying, Saradudasa sadhujata sat sarasirodara Nihagim Sri Musadvisa Suratanātate Sulkadasika Bharada Nignato Nehakim Vadaha. So they're praying to Krishna, or Suratanāth, Lord of love, master of amorous pleasure. With your eyes, you steal the beauty, you steal away the beauty of the lotus, the best lotus in the autumn pond, as we mentioned, just in the middle of such a place. They are blooming within the ponds in a very nice way in the autumn season, and you're stealing with your glance, your killing glance, your fifth glance, the beauty. Bestower of benedictions, Varada. If you do not look upon us now, gopis are presenting their plight with those same eyes. If you do not take our beauty, that's the point, as you're taking the beauty of the lotus for you, take our blooming beauty for you. If you are not doing that now, verily you will kill us. And we, who are we? Those who have given totally to you freely as unpaid maidservants without any price. So putting all this contrast on the scale, the conclusion is this not murder? Nehakim Vada, the gopis mentioned. So we were discussing a little bit about how the gopis really know Krishna as a thief better than anyone else, how they appreciate the dimension of his theft, and how in this particular case, the analogy of the lotus with themselves, the lotus being in the best possible way in the midst of the pond, very difficult to arrive at the same time expressing the topmost beauty, being born in a very noble place, the lake, similar to the gopis, being very chaste, very respectable families, very shy, and very protected by the family walls and by their own attributes, that anyhow Krishna with his glance was able to get to his treasure, if you will. So the gopis lovingly accuse him of this, saying like, you steal everything, whatever your eyes touch on, that becomes your possession. You steal everything. Which of your possession has you not stolen? Basically everything. The color of the cloud, the dancing of the peacock, the beauty of the lotus, our hearts and minds, and so on. So they called Krishna Nata, Surata Nata. Nata meant like Lord, Master. Surata had to do with the loving intermingling between the Nayak and the Nayika, hero and heroine. But also explain how Lord Nata means both Lord, but also represents the verb to beg, the act of begging. So Surata Nata not only means the Lord of amorous pleasure, but Surata Nata means he who begs, Nata, for amorous union, Surata, with his glance. So the gopis were really expert in, if you will, putting subtitles to Krishna's glance and understanding all the implications of that. So in this way, Krishna was stealing their hearts, their minds, their everything, and not only stealing that, but now at this particular moment, the gopis are starting to accuse him of murder also. As we say, the better the thief, the better he will get at killing. So the gopis are on the verge of death. As the song progresses, we will see that emotion, that situation intensifies more and more till upon the very last verse of the GOPI-GITA, where Krishna will be forced to appear to save the gopis' lives who are dying in separation of Krishna, because they know Krishna is suffering in separation from us. And again, over and over again, when we invoke this idea that every verse actually is concluding with the idea of you should show up, every verse this idea should be added at the end of every verse. You should show up, appear before us. The gopis are asking Krishna to appear for his sake, not for themselves. Like we mentioned, they imply like without beholding our beauty, our fresh teenagehood, your eyes won't reach full success. And we want you to be successful in every sense of the term. And we know that your success depends on our beauty, basically, and the service that our beauty can render to your eyes. So we are there to offer you beauty, to give the beauty so you can take it and use it as you consider. That's a very important point. Because in this world, we conceive beauty as something to be exploited by us. But actually, beauty itself is the exploiter, if you will. And we should learn ourselves to be exploited by beauty, if you understand the idea. Exploited in the proper sense of the term, as the gopis are presenting their beauty to be exploited by the supreme attractive, the supreme beautiful Sri Krishna. But in the context of selflessness, so there's no real exploitation there. They're just pure loving exchange, in a selfless way. So the gopis are pitifully imploring to Krishna, if you do not behold us right now, your eyes won't reach success. And we are begging that this Surata Lila, this Lila of loving exchange in our extreme sorrow, from your own sake, for your own sake, from you, we are begging it from you, for you, not for us. So over and over again, we have to reestablish this integrity and purity and total selfless nature of the gopis' love. So that will inspire us in our own life to culture that type of mood. Besides the transcendental affinity one may have, this important foundation of selflessness for whatever direction our love may eventually express. So these are some brief words connected to the second verse of GOPI-GITA. So we'll now go to the third one. I will share the shloka in the chat section as I have been doing these days. So let me see. Okay. Sorry again for some of the lines being not in the most precise order, but you will understand which is the first, the second, third, and fourth line. So I will recite the verse in Sanskrit, and after that we'll read the meaning, word by word, purpose, and unpacking of its content. So the verse says like this. Viṣa-jalāpyayād, vyāla-rākṣasād, vṛṣa-mārutād, vayaṁ, vṛṣa-mayātmajād, viṣvato bhayām, ṛṣabha vayaṁ, rakṣitā muhuḥ. So the meaning of the verse says, the gopis are imploring, directing to Krishna, say, O greatest of personalities, you have repeatedly saved us from all kinds of danger from all directions, from poisoned water, from the terrible snake Agha, from the great rains, from wind and rain, from the fire of the thunderbolt, from the bull demon, and from the son of Maya Dānava. So here the gopis present a considerable list of many of the dangers that they, as Brajavasis and the whole of Braj, for that matter, were protected by Krishna in the moment of great need. And so of course they will present this list and show how Krishna is expert in protecting them with a particular intention in the present context we are now, with a particular idea of protection they have in mind at this very moment. So we will get to that. So the gopis are saying, viṣa-jalāpyayād, vyāla-rākṣasād. So rakṣasād comes from rakṣishati or rakṣak, the idea of protection. Rakṣak. Sorry, rakṣitā is at the end of the verb, protection. Rakṣasād in this case has to do with rakṣasa. Excuse me. So viṣa speaks about the poisonous. Bahi viṣa-jalāpyayād. Viṣa means poisonous. And jala means water. So this means you saved us from the poisonous water. This implies Kaliya, Kaliya Lila. So apayāyād means means destruction, from destruction. So use from the destruction of the poisoned water. After that says vyāla-rākṣasād, from the demon Rakshasa, Vyāla, appearing in the form of snake. This means Agha. First of all, they make the whole list of dangers, and after that they will say rakṣitā muhuḥ, which means you repeatedly protected us. So viṣa-jalāpyayād, you protected us from Kaliya. Vyāla-rākṣasād, you protected us from Agha, Aghasur. Varṣa-mārutād, varṣa means rain, so you protected us from the rain sent by Indra in Govardhan Lila. Marutād means wind storm, so this implies Trinavarta, so you protected us from him as well. Vayaṁ, you protected from the thunderbolt, vidyutānalāt. This again refers to Indra and the Samvartaka clouds he sent, also trying to kill the whole of Braj in the midst of Krishna lifting Govardhan and so on. And vṛṣa, the third line, vṛṣa-mayātmajād. Vṛṣa has to do with bull. So bull, we have Aristasur, some of the main asuras killed by Krishna. Maya-ātmajād. Generally, the idea of Maya-ātmajād means Atmajād means the one born from Maya. So the son of Maya Dānava demon, which is Vyomasur. That's another one. So they make all this list and eventually they say viṣvato, means in this case from all, bhayād, fear, from the fear of all of them, ṛṣabha, which means greatest of all personalities, te, vayaṁ. Vayaṁ means we, te means by you. So we, by you, rakṣitā muhuḥ, have been protected, muhuḥ, repeatedly. So they make a clear case that Krishna is protector. That's one of the limbs of Saranagati. Rakṣitāti viṣvato. We should trust Krishna will protect us. So through all these different leelas, we realize how he's protecting us. He's protecting his devotees over and over again. So the gopis seem to just present a list of Krishna's killing so many demons and protecting themselves. So it seems they are praising him for doing that, but we'll see that there are some other implications to these words, even to the point of lovingly criticize him because of not protecting them now and appearing before them. So remember the previous verse. Krishna, the gopis were accusing Krishna, you are a thief and even you are a murder. Neha Kimbada, is this not murder? To leave us in the present situation, we who have given everything, who have gave everything to you with unpaid salary, and you are not appearing. So that seems to be close to murder. You are killing us with your blazing fire glances. So Krishna may object to that point of the gopis connected to the previous verse, by saying, if I wanted to kill you, why did I repeatedly protect you from so many dangers? Krishna is very smart also in argument, but the gopis, you will see, there will be smarter. So Krishna may say, I protected you from so many dangers. So after acting in such a way, it will be inappropriate for me to kill you now. It makes no sense. Krishna is taking shelter in common sense logic. If you protect someone many times from many dangers, it makes no sense that suddenly you are killing that person. You want to kill that person. And of course, that's true on one level. Krishna doesn't want to kill the gopis. But in the realm and dynamics of rasa, we'll see how the argument evolves into many interesting directions. So the gopis are replying in this verse to that possible argument by Krishna. I protected you from many cases, in many situations. So gopis say yes, and they start to quote. You state that from the destruction of Kali's poison, from the snake, man-eating Aghasur, from Indra's torrential downpour, from Trinavarta, from Indra, again thunderbolt, from the bull demon Aristasur, from Vyamasur. They start like to really recognize, yes, you said that so many times. So, but the point is, so you repeatedly protected us. Wow, some thunderbolt is coming in good exchange. So putting our faith in you as our protector is the point. As we say, rakṣitā viṣvato. It is said that we should trust your protection. That's one of the limbs of Sharanagati. So the gopis have full faith in that. So thus, being thus, we are coming out to you for relief from our burning pain, being pierced by the fire of separation. So now you should protect us in this particular situation. That's the implication of the verse. You protected us in so many dangerous situations. We are in a very dangerous situation now. We are dying from the fire of separation from you that's consuming our whole selves. Sometimes also this is expressed that the 5 arrows of Cupid are killing us. So which are those 5 arrows? Eventually they will mention them in one of the verses, but I'll briefly speak about that now. So it is said that Krishna's lotus eyes, or glance, as we spoke already, his sweet flute playing is the second arrow. His beautiful lips, where the other Amrita will come, the nectar of his lip tree. His confidential, solitary talks with the gopis, it's a 4th arrow. And his broad chest is a 5th one. So the gopis experience one after one of these arrows. They're burning in the fire separation again, trying to please, trying to save, trying to serve and save Krishna. So the whole gist of the verse implied here is the gopis are implied, I said to Krishna, we were thus saved by you many times, but in a general way. Those examples that they are giving here. But now, in this precise moment, you are our only focus in a very intense and particular way now. So we need to be saved in a special way now. You saved us in a general way, saving us from this demon, that demon. That's okay. Thank you very much. But now we find ourselves in a very extreme situation. Try to put everything on the scale. What the gopis left behind. First of all, how Krishna, as we mentioned, let's try to remind this, how Krishna ignited in them the fire of desire by glancing at them, by sending some messages, how he promised to them, we will get together. How by his flute playing, he was sending a message to them, I'm desperate, I need you to save me. They arrived there, they started the rasa, eventually he disappeared. So try to imagine the intensity of the necessity at this particular moment. So that's why the gopis is saying, we need to be saved in a special way here. This is not general, abstract saving we are imploring. And of course, also for us sadhakas, all this well-known list of demons that have been killed by Krishna, by remembering these leelas, where Krishna is chastising different asuras, we can also increase our faith and gain more confidence in taking shelter of Krishna. Again, a very important limb of Sharanagati, of our taking shelter voluntarily in Bhagavan. Increase our confidence. Rakṣitā viṣvato. He will protect me. In so many different levels, this idea is there. No, it's not just one way of understanding Krishna's protection, as we are saying, the gopis themselves are saying to Krishna, you protected us many times, but now we are asking for a particular type of shelter. There's this very layered idea. And of course, as you know, when all these leelas of Krishna killing demons actually had to do with something in our own self, according to Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Krishna is not killing demons in Golok Vrindavan. He's doing that on earth in his Bhoma Lila in Gokul, because in this part of the universe, if you will, not in the spiritual realm itself, is where we have still anarthas, some stuff to clean from our hearts. The same way that Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas for killing not demons with sudarshan at hand, like killing the demonic mentality through his achara and prachara. In this case, Krishna is killing different demons, representing our anarthas, different asuras in our own heart. Remember, asura. Sometimes we say demon and we may have a little movie-like idea of what's a demon. But actually, asura has to do with right now, immediately. And Ra comes from Ramante, which means enjoying. So asura means someone who thinks, I want to enjoy right now. Now, I don't care for the consequences. I don't care for the byproducts. I want to enjoy. A person who is carried by her selfishness in an exploitative mood. So that's what an asura is. So it's not difficult to get close to such a situation. So we need to clean our heart and our consciousness. Chetudarpana marjanam. So Krishna, the form of Srinam, is coming to our lives, as Guru Maharaj will say, as a sweeper, and gradually taking all this dust out of the heart, all these anarthas or these false values, unnecessary false sense of value, and giving us paramartha, the great real value. So there are many of these obstacles lying in our conscious, in our hearts, basically, and preventing our spiritual progress. So a particular stage of the practice is called Bhajana Kriya, and next to that, Anartha Nibriti, which is mainly focused in the necessity of cleaning our heart from those obstacles. So there's a whole meditation. Each one of these demons are representing particular obstacles to Bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur described it very nicely. So when we know about that, we can meditate about that. The gopis are invoking these examples for us to meditate on them and to destroy our inner demons, basically. Because all of them, again, representing particular an art, a particular impediment to eventually enter Braj, to eventually participating in Leelas such as Rasa Leela, for example. That's why Rasa Leela is coming after those chapters where Krishna mainly dealt with almost, not all, but almost all the demons. So the idea is, in order to enter into such a high loving experience, first you have to clean your heart from certain stuff. So only when these anarthas are eradicated, one will be able, for example, to enter Rasa Leela or to enter some other intimate Leela in Braj. So this is the symbol presented through the killing of the demons. Now, the demons are not outside. That's an important point of our philosophy. There are no enemies outside. So the only enemy is our own mind out of control. Basically, Krishna said that to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. And that worst enemy have the potential to become your best friend if properly approached with the proper method. And so that's what we are trying to do through bhakti. So the gopis, by saying this, also are instructing us regarding to the prerequisite for participating in the highest sports, loving sports of Sri Hari. It's not so easy, it's not so cheap to just be there and dance with Krishna, play with him in Braj. So, of course, on one level, again, we have this teaching for us sadhakas, but of course the gopis in their particular siddha, perfected situation, they are asking protection for themselves from other types of demon, the demon of separation, if you will, the threat of dying in separation, and thus most probably Krishna will die if they die. That's their concern. We cannot die because we know he will die, and we don't want to die because we know he won't be able to find the pleasure that he wants and he deserves, and we are able to give that to him, but he's not appearing. So they are in this very intense dilemma, the emotional dilemma. So also in the previous word, in the Sanatana Goswami, his commentary, Vaishnav Toshani, the name of Sanatana Goswami's commentary is called Vaishnav Toshani, which means for the pleasure of the Vaishnavas. That's the name of the Bhagavad commentary. So he says in the previous words, in the previous verse, the word kim means like why. So coming from the previous verse, why, and in this verse, the idea is that connected is why did you protect us all at all? Huh? That's all another implication of the gopis presenting in this long list. No? We protected from all these demons, but why? No? If we had we died on any of those occasions, we would be better off. No? You rescued us so many times. Okay, we accept that, but now you are killing us with your different arrows, as we say, your glances, your flute, your everything. So now nothing can protect us. So only you can protect us. You are killing us instead of protecting us. In other cases, maybe you protect us from other demons, but now we are being attacked by the demon of desire and separation, and you should be protecting us. You should appear before us. That's the idea. So the point, they say, what was the use of protecting us before? If now you are killing us, better you should have killed us from before, not like extending this torture experience. So again, the gopis are in a very indirect, loving and rasic way, crying pitifully in a very humble way also, asking Krishna for him to appear. So they also give this classic example in Vedic civilization, which is the tree. They say if someone plants a tree, the person will develop some attachment to that tree as the tree is growing somehow or other. You identify with that, even if it's poisonous tree. And some others may say, no, better you cut down the tree. It's poisonous. But the person will not do that. Will have some connection. So the gopis are like criticizing Krishna, saying like, it seems you forgot such a principle of noble human sense. You are so cruel and merciless. You are cutting us down by not appearing. Although previously you protected us, you watched us grow, you nurtured our growing on some level, but eventually when we are about to bloom and to offer the flowers and fruits of our love to you, instead of finally coming and doing what you have to do, you are cutting us, you are cutting the tree. So let's share some brief words about the different leelas that the gopis are invoking here as part of our meditation, and as part also to give more dimension to the gopis' own plight and why they are saying what they're saying. So, well, first of all, they say viṣa-jalāpyayād, kaliya, poisonous water. So, of course, all of you know Kaliya Lila, Kaliya representing envy. Well, it's a long story connected to also Garuda and Saubhari Muni. I cannot go in detail, it's too much. It's a long meta-narrative, one story inside another one. But in brief words, Kaliya has a lot to do with nowadays ecological sensibilities and so on. So he was poisoning the whole Jamuna river and killing, at least it appeared that he was killing lots of Brajavasis who were drinking that poisonous, venomous water. So eventually, as you know, Krishna appears there and being as a child, jumps into the Jamuna, into this terrible, ferocious snake with thousands of hoods. So starts like to, eventually all the Brajavasis get to know about that, go running just to the shores of the Jamuna, and they see like Krishna being embraced by this big serpent. You can imagine the emotional pitch of the Brajavasis. And at one point, Kaliya embraces Krishna, embraces like if he's going to kill him. And Krishna's not appearing anymore for a long time, at least for the Brajavasis, that was a long time. So with all this, Krishna was churning the heart of the Brajavasis. No? So their affection, their attachment reached a higher and higher pitch. And when he already knew this is being too much for them, Jashoda wanted just to jump into the Jamuna, and some of them just fainted. From different perspectives, Krishna reappeared, giving life back to the Brajavasis, and started to perform Nataraj section. He started to dance. He's the king. One of his name is Nataraj, king of dancers. So he started to move, dancing around different hoods of Kaliya, and blessing Kaliya, as we will see in other verses, with the marks of his lotus foot soles on his head. So that will be a great blessing for him. And also given many purposes at the same time, given, for example, the gopis a trailer of what's about to come, no? Rasa Lila. We are now in Rasa Lila, but before Krishna was dancing and showing to the gopis, see how nice dancer I am, so you should dance with me. So in this way, eventually, Kalyan was not killed, but was protected eventually by the prayers of the Naga Patnis, his wives, and eventually he was like forgiven by Krishna, but he had to reside somewhere else, not in the Jamuna. So this is the first example of Krishna protecting the whole Vrajavasis. After that, we have the famous Agha Lila, another serpent, if you will, a long one. So these days was Baladev's birthday, a particular type of birthday day. So he had not gone out to herd the cows with Krishna that particular day. So Rohini Devi, Baladev's mother, kept him at home and told him, we'll perform some ceremonies today. We'll give some cows in charity. We'll engage ourselves for education. And Krishna sometimes will create situations like this when he needs to perform some specific sweet pastime. And why it was like this? Because if Baladev would have been there, most probably Krishna wouldn't have performed the Brahma Vimohan Lila, that comes after this, bewildering of Brahma. So Agasura Lila was like the prelude to the Brahma Vimohan Lila, and took place the same day. Baladev was, again, if Baladev would have been there, he would not have been able to keep the event secret. You know, he was like the Maryad Purusha in the life of Krishna, the one who was reporting what's going on. So that would be too much for him to keep in secret. So he was not there. That was the arrangement of Lila Shakti Yogamaya. He would have certainly told Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, Krishna expanded himself in so many cowherd boys and calves, and all of Braja will come to know of that. And if that had happened, the point is a whole myriad of the parade of loving exchanges could not have taken place. And that was Krishna's intention, of course. So as you know, the main objective of Krishna is performing this transcendental pastime where eventually Brahma comes and sees Krishna with his friends having this picnic lunch. As you know, he thinks he's a cheater and he thinks that he's kidnapping the calves and the cowherd boys. And he goes back to Brahmaloka and returns after 1 earthly year, and he seems everything is okay because Krishna expanded into each one of these calves and cowherd boys. So he goes and he sees that, oh, here are the cowherd boys and the calves in the cave. I thought I just kidnapped them. They're at their homes. They are everywhere. What's going on? So eventually they see how different Narayans are expanding for each of them, and from these Narayans, Krishna appears eventually as being the source of Narayan, if you will. So it's the topmost Aishvaric Leela in the whole Bhagavatam, I will say. Very intense, very important. But this is in the context of saving them, protecting them from this Agasur, this snake python that opened his mouth miles of size. So main objective of Krishna in performing all this pastime was not to bewilder the Brahmas, He was aware actually of these elderly gopis who wanted to nourish him as their son, and the cows who wanted to nurture him as their calf. So he mainly made that arrangement to fulfill their desire. But in that context, so many things happen. So that's the second demon, if you will, killed by Krishna, Kasur. Later we have the rains and the thunderbolt of Indra, which has to do with the Govardhan Lila. I'm just mentioning them because entering into details will take another series in itself. So this Govardhan Lila, Indra becoming totally mad because he's not receiving the puja he was attached and accustomed to receive. So he sends his deadly Samvartaka clouds to Braj, wanted to kill all the Brajavasis with the logic, I will kill them so Krishna will die. If the Brajavasis die, Krishna will die because he cannot live with them. That was his logic, which was correct, but the intention was not correct. So as you know, eventually Krishna leaves Govardhan and the whole of Braj remains there for a whole week. So they were there in quarantine, in confinement for a whole week, without social media, without iPhone, without Instagram, without anything, without too much space. All of them packed there below the hill, but nobody experienced any problem. On the contrary, they were feeling this is a very special blessing. Uninterrupted darshan of Krishna for 7 days. No Brajavasis is having said darshan because Krishna is living some time of the day with his friends. So gopis, their parents are missing him. When Krishna is with their parents, gopis are not there. When Krishna is with the gopis, his parents and friends are not there. So nobody has an experience of Krishna uninterruptedly for a whole day, what to speak for a whole week. So what started at the big curse ended as the greatest blessing. So that's how it generally works. If we take shelter, rakṣitā viṣvato, if we trust in Krishna's protection, what it seems to be something very bad, it turns out to be something very nice. So this is Govardhan Lila, Krishna protecting the whole Braj with this giant umbrella and giving darshan and blessings and so much. After that, the Trinavarta, a demon is mentioned, also whirlwind, as you know. This was one of the very first ones after Putana, the Krishna killed, which was trying to take him, kidnap here in the heights, and he became stronger and stronger and stronger and heavier in weight, so he could know, and starts to become choked up, not because of ecstasy, so he was not able to sustain and eventually left this plane. Also, there are mentioned this fire. Fire has to do with the forest fires. There are 2 forest fires mentioned. The word analāt here means forest fire. So Krishna saved the Brajavasis from two great forest fires, one of which took place in the forest near Bandiravan, one of the 12 forests in Vrindavan. And it is said that there in the shade of a massive banyan tree, which is called Bandira-bata, bata means like tree, Krishna was playing with his cowherd friends, and the cows were drinking the water nearby, the Jamuna, grazing on the green grass. Everything was perfect. And gradually the cows wandered away from Krishna. And the boys also far. So enter one place called Munjatavi, which is a forest of one plant called Munja, which is a plant with pricks. So it was at some distance there. So it was summer, scorching heat was there, drying the forest. So you can imagine what happens next. So it was so dense also that the cows lost track of the path where we come from. So they were overwhelmed by thirst, overwhelmed by heat. So they became quite disturbed, started mooing, and began to search for Krishna, and the Gopas began to search for the cows here and there. And they entered this, especially some of the cowherd boys. Krishna and Balaram were in another part. So they entered this Munjatavi place where the cows were there, the Gopas. They found the cows, but they became now trapped along the cows, agitated by excessive thirst and heat. So that's a moment when there is some servants of Kamsa, which were there nearby, were hiding in the forest, and they set the grass and trees ablaze on fire. So in a moment, again, the dry forest eventually, and the wind started to expand the fire throughout the whole area there. So both the cows and the cowherd boys were caught, like trapped in a circle of a forest fire, similar to the situation of the conditioned soul in samsara. Basically, that's and the gopis are in another type of samsara now, in another type of forest fire of separation. Samsara, interestingly, also means sara means essence or cream, and sam means complete, full. So they are in a samsara, in the full essence of ecstasy, but they've expressed themselves as being caught in a circle of a forest fire and separation from Krishna. And in this case, the cowherds and the cows were there. So they have no means to escape. So they began to cry, cows began to moo, calling Krishna and Balaram to appear. So of course, Krishna heard the distress of their dearmost. So both Krishna and Balaram came in their midst, and interestingly to say in the Bhagavatam, they say to the children, close your eyes for a moment. It's interesting because if you are dying in forest fire in the midst of this fire seeker, you won't say to that person, just close your eyes 1 second. You will just try to save him. Of course, there's a purpose to this. So Krishna told them this. Of course, they closed their eyes. And in that moment, Krishna swallowed the whole forest fire. So Krishna say, okay, open their eyes now. So they opened their eyes and there was no more forest fire. And Krishna was looking at them like smiling. So the boys in their psychology, in their love for Krishna, they started to consider why he made us close our eyes. And of course, again, in the particular psychology of Sakya Bhav, they will think, okay, Krishna must know some mantra to put out the fire. Between children, they will think like this: close their eyes and I will turn off the whole rain, this whole fire by a mantra I know. So they thought, okay, he may know a mantra, but maybe the mantra can only be recited in a very secret way, in a very secluded place. So if we shut our eyes, he will feel like he's alone, or like he's reciting the mantra privately. That's their psychology, again, in a natural way. That's the charming feature of this particular dynamics. We were not calculating at any single moment or suspecting he's God. Now imagine if your friend with some few years is swallowing a forest fire, you will start to suspect, who are you? But they were finding so many incredible psychological reasons according to their particular bhav to justify why he had made close our eyes. And there are many reasons, not only one reason. Many of them after start to have Harikathaista Gosti discussing why he made that close our eyes. Maybe they were not, again, interestingly, they were not that like overwhelmed, surprised that, oh, he swallowed the forest fire. Maybe the main question is, why did he make us close our eyes? Again, like in Govardhan Lila, the Brajavasis were not thinking, oh, he's lifting a whole mountain. They are thinking, oh, he may be tired. Let's help him. They bring their sticks. Some friend is massaging Krishna's arm, just so they're putting some food in his mouth. They're having this common sense, of course, the common sense of the flow of affection in Bhav, in Braj. So the friends were thinking like, another reason they were discussing, eventually they say, Krishna, I think he made us close our eyes because we remember when he was still a baby, we saw him eating earth, eating dirt, like soil. And we complained to Mother Yashoda about that. So he remembers that. So he now thought, Krishna thought, if my friends see me now eating fire, they will complain to Mother again, to Ma again. They already complained that I'm eating dirt and they make a whole show and she wanted to chastise me. And now I'm swallowing a whole forest fire, so for sure they will complain again to Ma, to Yashoda Maya, and she will punish me. So I don't want that, Krishna thought. And besides this, if my friends see me swallowing the entire fire, surely they will think that I'm burning up my throat. And their own throat, their own life heirs will depart. My friends will die by seeing me swallow, because only they were thinking, oh, he's burning. Somehow or other, he may be experiencing some difficulty, and that will be too much for them. So Krishna thinking, I don't want to cause them any difficulty. But different nuances, as you say. Someone may think Krishna doesn't want any difficulty, but the chastisement of Yashoda, and some other will think Krishna's avoiding difficulty for his friends. But all of them are true, really, and charming, their subjective mood. So the gopis are referring to this example of the forest fire, going back to the gopis. So they are referring, again, you protected us at that time. And by these words, again, they imply, for example, if all the cowherd boys had died in that fire, also their fathers and mothers would have died also from grief. Their sons had died. And we gopis, for sure, we have died because all of us are one in Braj, one heart. So by protecting all of Braj in this way, you also protected us as well. Because you may say, why they mentioned the fire? The gopis were not there, but they were there by extension, because Krishna protected the boys, their fathers, and the gopis. But again, the gopis do not need to be there. Actually, they are in their own forest fire, samsara, viraha agni, the fire of separation. And finally, the gopis mention also Aristasur and Bhyomasur. Aristasur is the bull demon, And Vyāmasura is another demon who's flying in the sky, son of Maya Dānava. So the gopis say, vṛṣa-mayātmajād. With this quote, they are like mentioning another instant that Krishna is protecting them. Again, Aristasura is a very famous lila, which gives rise eventually to the manifestation of both Shyama-kunda and Radha-kunda. So it's very charming session. So viṣa-mayātmajād also has another explanation according to our Purvacharyas, can refer to two demons. Vyāmasura, as we mentioned, Mayātmajād, also Vatsasura. Vatsasura is the calf demon. Because the word vṛṣa refers to vṛṣabhasura, another name for Aristasura, the bull demon. And the word Atmajād, as I said, it means son. So in conjunction with vṛṣa, the verse says vṛṣa-mayātmajād. So Atmajād can modify vṛṣa, can modify Maya. No? So Maya has to do with Maya Dānava, which is Vyomasura's father, or Atmajād can modify vṛṣa, which means the son of Aristasura, the bull demon. So the point, who is the son of Aristasura? The calf demon called Vatsasura. So that's another option of the verse that may include also one more demon in the form of Vatsasura, the son of Aristasura. And in conjunction again, Atmajād with the word Maya, we are speaking about the son of the demon Maya, Maya Dānava, called Vyāmasura, who was killed by Krishna in Kamyavam, one of the other 12 forests of Braj. And interestingly, something in connection to these two, especially Aristasura and Vyāmasura, is that these two, the killing of these two is yet to occur, no? Have not occurred yet in the chronology of the Bhagavad. So you may wonder why the gopis are mentioning that if that's not happening yet. So there are many reasons, and different acharyas give like complementary revelations, explanations for this. So one of them is that the gopis heard from Krishna's horoscope, from Garga Rishi, Bhaguri Rishi. They knew Krishna will kill all these demons in the future. All this will mention like a prediction. So in that sense, the gopis already consider these deeds accomplished. Now, if that was said, his horoscope, this is part of also of the faith of the village. No? If the wise sage say that in the horoscope, it has to be true. No? Astrological chart says that, it will happen. They are not thinking you may engage in bhakti, it won't transcend prarabdha karma. No. What the chart is saying, that will be your destiny. They have this type of psychology in the Braj. So Sanatana Goswami, in his Vaishnava Toshani, he mentions like this compound vṛṣa-mayātmajād, as I said, referring to Arista and to Vyāmasura, is hinting at future events. The killing of these two will be described in chapters 36 and 37. Now we are in chapter 31, so it's yet to come. So the girls are mentioning these events as past events because Sanatana Goswami mentioned they were certain that these events were going to happen. And Sanatana Goswami said basically because the gopis knew everything. No? Like he is attributing some sort of omniscience or mystic perception to the gopis, even in the midst of their so-called ordinary lifestyle mood. But Sanatana Goswami said they naturally, especially, had an automatic vision of all the things, all the things that will be happening, because the love of the gopis at this point was, Sanatana Goswami said, flying high due to the pain of separation. So in a very high fever of separation, they were, if you will, hallucinating, but and that hallucination, you were having some visions of the future that were true. Sanatana Goswami implies. And also that's the reason why the events are out of sequence, and the gopis are mentioning it as if they already happened in their transcendental divine mindness. We are also already spoke about that when the gopis are experiencing the pain of separation, unbearable separation, they receive spurtis or visions of Krishna's pastimes. And those spurtis not necessarily have to do only with present moment or past moment, also future moment. And also, as we will see in the next verse and many others, Aishwarya manifesting in separation, Krishna gopis referring to Krishna as God, attributing to him certain great powers, that Aishwarya coming to the surface in separation. But all that nurturing their madhurya, their intimate feeling for him, not creating some distance, like Arjuna taking darshan of the Vishwarup in the Gita or whatever. No? On the other side, no, apart from Sanatana Goswami's opinions, Jiva Goswami, in his own commentary, Lagu Vaishnava Toshani, this is called, the one of Sanatana Goswami is called Brihad Bhagavat Vaishnava Toshani, and the Brihad means great, and the one of Jiva Goswami is called like small, light, with a commentary he wrote after Sanatana, which is very similar to Sanatana Goswami's commentary. So Jiva Goswami mentioned that because of Sukadev Goswami's deep mood, there were occasions where he rearranged the chronology of the narrations according to that mood. So trying to nurture the different moods that were being evoked in the narration, sometimes he rearranged the chronology in order to properly nourish the particular bhav that was coming to the surface. So sometimes he transgressed, if you will, chronology. So because of that, he recounted certain pastimes of Krishna killing demons after the described Rasa Lila, when in fact they took place beforehand. That's Jiva Goswami's opinion. No? Actually, this killing of Aristasur, Vyamasur take place before Rasa Lila, he's saying. But they describe after in order to nourish a particular dynamics of his narration. So we may feel, oh, this explanation is contradicting the other explanation, maybe. Some are saying that the demons, no, the actual killing of the demons came after, or the actual killing of the demons came before. But even if we would like to put those two opinions on the scale, it is said that both explanations can be correct. In which sense? Different kalpas. In different millennia, Krishna killed first. No? Krishna performed his pastimes in different sequences, killing Aristasura and Vyamasura before Rasa Lila, killing Aristasura and Vyamasura after Rasa Lila. So as you remember, he's performing these leelas on some planet Earth always, at some point, at some moment. So somehow or other we can harmonize that particular detail. So basically, these words about this verse, and as a conclusion again, to remember, to recall the gist of the whole verse, the gopis basically here they are saying to Krishna, you protected us many times in the past, as they are mentioning here. So we trusted fully that you will surely protect us in the near future, present, and always. So we have given up everything we have. We have offered you our very existence, basically. We are here for you. We came for you. We came to you to give you our life for your pleasure. But now you very cruelly are betraying us. So we are dying, and even though we are dying, you are not coming to protect us. So again, conclusion of the verse, appear before us. Appear before us. Some words regarding this third verse of the GOPI-GITA. Any questions?
I have a question, Swami.
Kevin?
Yes, please.
Yes.
And I admit that I'm very new to this, so this may be a very basic question, so be gentle.
Yeah.
So I believe that you said in one of the earlier classes that one of the possible reasons for Krishna leaving the gopis is pride on their part, on the part of the gopis. And you may not, I thought that's what I heard, but if you didn't, my question doesn't exist. But if that's the case, how is it that there's a couple of questions. How is it that there can be pride in the spiritual or transcendental world? Because I was thinking that pride is purely material, a material quality. And yet if not, how does pride in the spiritual world differ from pride in the material world?
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I actually did mention that on some level of interpretation of the Bhagavad, Krishna left because of pride of the gopis. No, first we mentioned that, okay, the gopis, when Krishna was dancing with all the gopis, no, each one of the gopis felt, oh, Krishna is dancing only with me. So some pride came to them in the sense of feeling extremely fortunate. Oh, he's only with me. In a particular ecstasy, they had some pride. So Krishna disappeared from them. That's one level, one point. And eventually to say that the Bhagavad says Krishna was with Radha without mentioning her name after he disappeared from the rest. And eventually this gopi, Radha, became proud of her good fortune and Krishna left her as well. So again, on one level, you can say Krishna doesn't like pride. If there is pride, he will disappear. So that's one level of explanation. All these narrations have many layers of explanations applicable to whatever situation we are in. We should see where to fit there. So one very beginning point is, if you have pride, immediately that's like making Krishna run away. So, and you have humility, of course, that will invite him to reappear, as we will see eventually Krishna appears. So in a very basic level, we can explain the GOPI-GITA in this sense. The gopis were proud, Krishna disappeared. The gopis became humbled by his disappearance and started to pray and sing with full humility. He was pleased by that, attracted by humility, he reappeared. So conclusion, be humble, not be proud. That's on one level. But on a deeper even level, there are other lessons in more advanced stages that have to do with spiritual pride. There is place for that. No? Generally, we hear on some stage, if you will, in the spiritual world, there is no lust, there is no anger, there is no pride. All those things are material stuff. But actually, when we go up to spiritual world, on certain level of first spiritual world, we'll find that, oh, there is no pride, there is no lust, there is no greed, all the things that are unbecoming, and all the devotees are worshiping God in a very saintly mood. You go to Vaikuntha, there is Narayan, and everyone is like just simple and humble and praying and worshiping. You say, wow, yes, this is a spiritual world. But if you keep going up and you get, if you will, to Vrindavan, you find, what's going on here? Jashoda is chasing Krishna with a stick. No? The gopas are throwing Krishna to the ground, insulting him, calling him names. Srimati Radharani is chastising Krishna sometimes, no? And she's like playing hard, as you say in English, no? Like manini. Manini means like sometimes with good cause or without good cause. Sometimes she becomes like jealous. She behaves like a jealous lover, or she exhibits some pride. Krishna wants to be with her, and she plays it hard, say no, and it may seem she's proud, but actually she's taking that stance because she fully knows Krishna is so happy when I enter into that mood, and he has to pacify me in a particular way, and I'm not surrendering to that, and I'm sustaining that stance, and Krishna is insisting in so many, and all that gives so much pleasure to Krishna. So to say that in Srimati Radharani psychology, she knows all that, and she knows where to give up and open again the welcome for Krishna. So externally it may seem, oh, this is proud, this girl is proud. As scripture says, sometimes Sri Radharani knows in certain particular moments, nobody apart from me can give full pleasure to Krishna. So she will she will stand in the first line, put all of them at the side and go straight to Krishna. Not because of pride, but because I know in this moment, only I can give him full pleasure, and I only live to give him full pleasure. So externally it may seem proud. Like if I am standing on the altar and you may say, oh, Swami, you are quite proud. Who do you think you are? The deity, you are standing on the altar. But if I say, my guru told me to come here to clean the altar and to serve the deities, I have to then enter into this, take this stance. So it seems like pride, but it's actually done in the spirit of service. So in this way, we could say that on one level, we can take the lesson of, in a more abstract way, generic way, yes, pride, we should be care of that because that's still a lesson to be learned. But as we explained, eventually the gopis, so-called proud gopis, actually their pride was an ecstatic pride. It was a pride full of love and desire, and they're proud of, it's a way of saying proud. Sometimes the words are, we just tend to relate them to our own experience, but they were overwhelmed, like overflowing of feeling themselves fortunate because of thinking Krishna is dancing only with me, and the other one was thinking the same. In that sense, they were proud, but it was totally selfish, totally selfless, sorry. Yeah. And eventually when Krishna went with Radha, we also shared the story, and actually she was not proud. She only played herself to be, I'm tired, please carry me. No? And as we explained, Krishna carried her and she became mad in separation for not seeing him. And that's why he left her there, so the other gopis could see her in separation in the highest degree and be nurtured for that and increase the joy of the Rasa Lila. So if we go deeper, we will see actually there's no pride at all, even though it seems so faulty from many sides. It seems there's lust, that there's proud, but when we analyze that through the proper lens, we will see, no, actually this is the topmost exhibition of the highest selflessness. So I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you for that explanation.
It's okay, thank you. Something else, some other question?
I can ask a follow-up to that question. So is it in Madhurya Ras that this pride is maybe seemingly Krishna?
Sorry, again, I didn't understand.
Just the question I had, yeah, in Madhurya Ras,
yeah.
Is it because in if you see it in Sakya Ras, the cowherd boys can say, oh, Krishna loves me the most, and it's just like every one of them is right, and they exhibit what seems to be spiritual pride, and that seems allowable for their particular rasa. Whereas with the gopis, so is it something that goes with Madhurya Ras that kind of pride is not acceptable where it is in Sakya Ras?
Well, of course, since Sakya Ras is another rasa, there will be certain rules, if you will, of expression in that context that not will be necessarily allowed in the other domain of Madhurya Rasa. But, and generally we know this idea, as you mentioned, the sakas, the gopas will have this Vishramba, this Viśvato, Krishna loves me, and all this, and the gopis may, as Guru Maharaj will say, not be fully sure that he loved me, that's he not, but also at the same time, there are many instances in the scriptures where Radha and the gopis are sure that Krishna loves them. No? So that's only depending on certain moments. No? In certain moments they may doubt, but doubt only in a way that will increase their hankering, not that they will really believe it. No? Because again, the nature of love is so dynamic that it asks for more and more at every moment. So maybe someone is loving you, but at the next second, a higher degree of love is required. So you may doubt, is he up to that level or not? And eventually he will be there and so on. They will be growing together. But there are many instances, for example, when Krishna met with Radha and the gopis at Kurukshetra, and Krishna said some words to them, many other verses, that the gopis were really assured, they really knew he's ours. They received this certainty, he's ours. Of course, in some other moments in separation, certain humility may come and they may express certain doubt, or it's like a roller coasters of emotions. So I wouldn't say that, if that was your question in part, I wouldn't say that the Krishna disappeared from the gopis because that type of pride or that type of assumption that Krishna is with me or I'm fortunate enough. No, it's illegal in the breast. So that's why he disappeared. No, because of course, at the same time we could say he wanted to turn their hearts and to make them mature. As we realized, eventually Krishna disappears, is with Radha, and eventually he leaves Radha for the reasons we already mentioned. With all this idea of these gopis that will see Radha, they need still to turn to distill their own emotion in order that the experience of the Rasa Lila will be full. So they need to see Radha in her separation in order for them to nurture their own separation. And of course, the whole separation idea is to create a higher synthesis in union. So Krishna was in union with the gopis in the beginning of the Rasa Lila. But again, it seems that it was not enough. And of course, we can say Radha was there also orchestrating the whole thing. So eventually, separation was invoked in the dynamics of the Rasa Lila. So eventually, the future union will be higher. But for that, separation is necessary. And certain type of separation, like the one of Radha, was necessary for the other gopis. So we could say also that that Krishna disappeared in order to nurture the separation are the feelings of those gopis who were themselves feeling. In that sense, we can justify that on one level, what you say that, okay, the gopis were feeling Krishna's only with me, like implying like, if you take that to imply, oh, he's with me, I have it, so I don't need to, this is, stop there, he's with me, I don't need to distill, to develop anything else, Krishna disappeared. To show the very moment you think you have it, you don't have it. The very moment like you take rest and say, okay, I arrived there, I got Krishna, you don't have Krishna anymore. Like to show the dynamics of love. No? But again, we could say some of those gopis need to see that at the same time. So they were not just like conditioned souls or something like this. So we have to put everything in place. But again, many of those things become teachings for us. And in this sense, we could say, yes, at the very moment that you think Krishna is yours, you already are there, you have him, he will disappear to show you that the love flow is dynamic, ongoing, culture, and everything is, every moment, every step is like increasing. It's harmony. So Rasa Lila has to do with this, no? So again, the main reason for Krishna's disappearance, we say, was to increase the whole experience of rasa. And that's why also, remember what I said in the first class, no? Or I think it was the first one. It says that Radha was the one who, in the most confidential level of explanation, Radha was the one who saw some gopis are becoming proud in that particular context and thinking Krishna is only with me. And in one sense, it's nice, it's right, their own perception, but it's not fully true. And that will stop, like there will be an obstacle to the dynamics of the Rasa Lila. And Radha wanted to Krishna to enjoy with all those gopis, but with such a psychology, Krishna is only with me, that won't be possible. So because of that, it is said, she disappeared. And Krishna was not able to feel anything in the midst of the Rasa Lila at that moment any longer. So he disappeared behind her. And of course, the gopis fell into swoon and trance. So again, there need to see that there's no pride. So in that case, we can take a deep lesson ourselves. But it was a form of spiritual pride, as the one you mentioned. The gopis have it in their own particular perspective. The gopis have it in the particular perspective. Of course, when we say gopis, also we speak in different moods and groups. So that's also a point. Some gopis like Chandravali and the Dakshin Bab, we mentioned already, the right wing will think, we are Krishna's, we are of him, but rather than his gopi will think Krishna is ours. So they have mamata, they have possessiveness, they have some assertive nature at certain moment. Krishna is mine, I know him. But at certain other moments, in the dynamics of love, some other emotion may come here. So it's a complex issue, it's a complex emotional world. So we have to be there to fully be able to answer the question to ourselves, basically. But some words in that regard.
Thank you very much.
Any other question?
I have a question, Maharaj. It's Mahara.
Yeah.
A follow-up to that one. Like you mentioned that the gopis only, their only aspiration is to please Krishna and to serve Krishna. And you've mentioned that, now I know it's not black and white, and in this case, it doesn't make sense almost that they would show pride to please Krishna, but I don't know. I'm just wondering, how does it work like that? Like, because they do everything to please Krishna, and it's not like they're showing pride to please him. You know what I mean? Or do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I think so, yeah. Well, I gave already one example of pride giving pleasure to Krishna. Just to start to conceive the possibility of such a thing. As I told you, Srimati Radharani being pride, with or without reason, sometimes, again, if she had good reason, she had a good cause for that, that will be much more difficult for Krishna to break her man, her pride, basically. And if it's without good reason, just in a whimsical way, she becomes proud, that will be easier for Krishna to break it. But the point is, she's exhibiting some type of pride. Of course, there are varieties of pride, but there's a possibility, let's begin with that. There's a possibility of pride being there and giving pleasure to Krishna. Again, it's not pride as we generally conceive that. And of course, for fully understanding this, we ourselves have to be devoid of all pride. At least from that pride that is not favorable for Krishna Bhakti. Because again, Krishna Bhakti is so potent that everything can become favorable in the service of Krishna. As we were quoting, I think during the previous series, one verse from Narottam Das Thakur, who will say, I will engage all my anarthas in the service of Krishna. He will say basically like this, being very lasty about relishing the pastimes of the Lord, my greed about being greedy regarding attaining him, and my anger, my wrath regarding my enemies, inner enemies. And he was like quoting all this except for envy. We make that point, except for Matsarya. There's no way of expressing Matsarya in that context. But again, pride is one of the 6 enemies in this part of the world, Mada Moha. So there's a place for that again, and it is said to this point. I think it's Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami in his Govinda Lilamrita, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Krishna Bhavanamrita, one of the two, in these two similar books. At one point, they mention, some of them, Krishna enjoys more all this previous, like, coming and going, this struggle with breaking Radha's pride and all this, that gives him much more pleasure than the actual meeting, amorous meeting with Radha eventually, and the pleasure that is including him in all that. He derives much more joy from all these like preliminary functions, if you will, where Radha shows herself proud, and Krishna has to, of course, we may say that's one type of pride that gives pleasure to Krishna, and the pride of these gopis who were not Radha, again, was a different type of pride. So in that sense, we may say, okay, so that's a point that is being made in the Rasa Lila to show that not every type of pride will please Radha and Krishna, but at the same time, again, they are, for being there in the Rasa Lila with Krishna, they cannot have pride. No, they cannot have material pride, I mean. No? If not, what are they doing there? They are already on the other side, but still there is some extra transcendental distilling to be done in order to have a full relish. Because again, and there's, with this I'm not speaking, they have material anarthas. You can be on the other side of the spiritual world, but still some distilling of the mellows may be further required to reach newer and newer heights of relishment in the Leela. So the pride that the gopis were experiencing was a natural. Remember, many of these gopis were joining with Krishna for the first time in this Rasa Lila. So they were naturally overwhelmed, astonished by this idea of, we are here, we are finally meeting our beloved, and we're dancing with him, and he's with us. I mean, that was Krishna, that was the situation that Krishna created. I mean, there were millions and zillions of gopis, but the subjective experience of them was, oh, so millions of gopis, he's only with me. No? So that's a and that, in that sense, was pride. No, not pride like we think of, but even though it was pure and it gave pleasure to Krishna, it was not able to give maybe the full pleasure that Radha had in mind while orchestrating the whole Rasa Lila. So that's why Radha was seeing that pride. It's not that she thought these proud girls are in Maya or whatever, but she realized this is not the full range of Rasa. This is not the full reach that this Rasa Lila we can attain with Rasa Lila. So in that sense, she disappeared, made Krishna disappear, make the gopis run through, and eventually reach another level of distillment of their emotions. So to learn about in this case, the emotions of Radha, the separation of Radha, or especially these newcomers, if you will, these gopis newcomers. Even though they are newcomers, they are totally transcendental entities, but newcomers. So certain distillment is still required there. So they are taking darshan of Radha's vipralamba that nurtures their own vipralamba. Eventually they take darshan of Radha's pride that will nurture their own pride. No? So they may be able to give more and more pleasure to Krishna. It's already pleasurable to Krishna because the fortune they are feeling by being with him and thinking they are with him alone is on the basis of prem. So that's what gives pleasure to Krishna, basically. But there's no end to that. So Radha is always thinking in terms of, that's Radha, no? Aradhana, supreme worshipper, thinking how to expand the field of service and pleasure to Krishna more, and engaging everything around her. No? So something about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Something else? We are already on time, but we may, if there's one more question, we can give place to that. Okay, so it seems we are done for today. So thank you very much to all of you again for your time, presence, questions, and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the last class of this week, and we will be studying the 4th verse of Sri GOPI-GITA. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Ram Sankirtan ki jai, Gaura
Jai.
jai,
Jai.
Grantava Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri GOPI-GITA ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Pranananda, Vanchakalpatarubhasya Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Abhinava Swami ki jai. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Jai. Hari Bol.